Peace, peace. Now's the vibrate. Y'all know what it is. Not too far in the future, not too far in the past. Right now, I'm just coming in for a little, you know, kind of like a open topic type of video. More so, just allowing myself to, kind of just flow into it, and also a Q&A. Sometimes the energies that get so stiff, you know, as far as like the way we might do things or go about things. So, this kind of just for me to kind of, get back into that, more into that flow state, and having to have those deeper understandings about self, you feel like, oh, like say for instance, in one department of my life, making sure that like, all right, I gotta be more structured. I gotta, what I'm saying, I can't just be just floaty, what I'm saying? Like, gotta have more structure, more willpower and awareness, what I'm saying, to, set these plans or these goals, what I'm saying. And at the same time, though, again, it's a balance. It's not to see the flow state or certain moments just kind of, feeling something intuitively and coming forth with it. It's not to make that, wrong either. You know what I'm saying? It's just like make sure you're doing the structure stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because where it does kind of get out of alignment, if I'm just kind of, like, oh, just pop up with a video, just pop up with a video, but then I'm not structuring the other things that's necessary. You know what I'm saying? So, peace, Matt Dunlap. There will be trouble. Peace. This energy of perspective, you know, it's kind of, one of the things that has been coming up. And then also realizing, so something I wanted to share too, with all these truths, these deep secrets or secretions from the Scorpio tail, you know what I'm saying? Realizing, when we talk about like going through cycles, you know, I had to realize like how some of my old cycles from before I was kind of, aware. Of course, I always had some form of, extrasensory perception in some way, form, or fashion. But, I wasn't aware of like the things I'm aware of now, back in the day to this extent, you know what I'm saying? And I think of, that energy that I had where it was like, testing my skill set energy. Matter of fact, even though I didn't know it then, it was kind of like, in essence, I call it somewhat like I would call it the fallen angel syndrome, but also just more so this energy of like, like testing the matrix in essence, you know, like it was something in me that knew, like, all right, I have this power and this ability to, shake back from things, you know, because growing up, you know, doing different substances, you know what I'm saying? Uh, I think about, when I used to, or when I started smoking sherms. We're gonna just dive into the darkness a little bit, you know, because do have to be aware of, going backwards, in essence, with where we at and what we focusing on. It's just a little story time, you know what I'm saying? But uh, I remember anybody familiar with, with sherms, in certain places they call it butt naked, you know what I'm saying, angel dust, you know what I'm saying. But, realizing like I literally was in the energy of, let me see, like a lot of some of my usage of certain substances was like on a vibe of let me see if I could do these things, and shake back from it, you know what I'm saying? And also be a living example, because another part of teaching, or one of the main parts of teaching, is again, it's just like being a beacon and being a living example, you know what I'm saying? And, because even for that energy, you know what I'm saying, being a living example to a lot of brethren and sisters in my neighborhood, you know, I'm a living example of like, man, we remember when, you used to be, Xanaxed out, smoking sherms, drinking 40s all the time, you know what I'm saying? And a part of that though was, like the energy of, testing the matrix, and much love to the brethren, Bridge of Ra, Mr. Aaron, because something he said sparked this notion, to share this. But like realizing though this energy to again test things out, and I did it, because again this is also like a drug that most people wouldn't shake back from. Like most people like kind of brain deteriorating, and which I felt that shit in the moment, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, like this shit just makes me feel, like although I enjoyed it, it's like, but this shit like throwing haymakers at your brain cells, because one of the main reasons why I got to a point of quitting was because I wasn't able to articulate myself well with the queens, you know what I'm saying? To be honest, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh no, I can't be this slow, you know what I'm saying? Like this is messing up the flow. But again, like going through that process though, and then get to a space where, I got to a space where I'm completely giving it up, you know, and seeing that cycle within, my energy field now, where it's not no type of, drugs, but now it could be like putting myself in certain situations or dealing with certain, unhealthy energies, parasitic energies or toxic energies, you know what I'm saying? Uh, and then in essence, like, seeing if I could pull myself out, but more so on a, again, like a subconscious cyclic, you know what I'm saying? Like a cycle on a subtle subconscious level, because at this point, you know, I haven't been on no vibes of deliberately doing that, but I realized some of the stuff I've been through kind of still mirrors, some of the things that I was doing when I wasn't, aware, you know what I'm saying? And how some of that, is rising up, right now, and being aware not to, you know, because say for instance, like back then, I had that room. Because another reason why I'm bringing it up, because now it's getting to a point where, not want to play around with your spiritual growth. You know what I'm saying? Like, like just because I may have healing powers, that don't mean put my hand on the stove constantly. You know what I'm saying? Like, and especially right now, like in a space where, it's very important to be tuned in, very important to be aware of, what's going on in the subconscious and what's causing, the manifestation of what we're dealing with, you know what I'm saying, in our day to day. But definitely, realizing like, all right, now it's getting to a point where, it, I shouldn't be playing around like that, you know, but seeing, you know, again in the subconscious, like how, I call it the Shaq syndrome of like, you knowing you got a certain skill set, like, Shaq knowing that he's 7 foot and could just bang on everybody, he got a little, he wasn't so much on keeping his body up. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck it, I could, just dunk on people, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna worry about like keeping up with my health, you know what I'm saying, to that degree, you know, and hence why, in essence, could have been had more potential there, but it's like, all right, the knees giving out and stuff like that. But uh like in so many words, knowing you having a certain skill set, so you kind of a little laxed at the way you progress, you know what I'm saying? In any manner, again, spiritually or in a certain skill set, or activity, you know what I'm saying? But, realizing, again, that cycle was a part of uh, my past and just seeing how, how I've been having to clean that cycle up, like right now. What's up, Mr. Andre, Tina Bailey? And that's what we're getting to. Again, is just more so being a living example of these. Being a living example is more so the way we're teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like realizing that teaching ain't just again like sharing information or sharing insight as much as it's being the change you want to see. Like all right, the pharmaceutical companies and all that, is lying to people about different ways to heal. And matter of fact, that's something that's been coming up, you know what I'm saying? Again, awareness without fear mongering is that, it's certain things that's popping off, like the FDA trying to come down on like people who may be working with herbs, you know what I'm saying, to help the on all levels, you know what I'm saying? But again, more so you could say like the metaphysical or esoteric, aspect of like healing, you know, but the FDA is kind of like on some like, if you don't go through us, then it's not helping or it's not healing, you know what I'm saying? And again, like these are the real, the things happen in real time that we do have to be aware of. And again, awareness without fear mongering, because can't stick our head in the sand and act like it's like this shit not happening. But it's a balance because I am one of those strong believers in the energy of like all right, if what we focus on grows, let me focus on my ability again to be the change I want to see. And since I already got an idea that, what I'm saying, I got an idea that there's certain parasitic energies that's always gonna be trying to create deception and what I'm saying, always trying to be some type of antagonist. Like I don't necessarily have to keep going back to focusing on that, what I'm saying? As much as, certain things I might need to be aware of in the moment. But then once I'm aware of it, it's like, all right, be the change, what I'm saying? Like and focus on what's best. Cause, even looking at the energy of, when I think of again, like certain people wanting my attention, back like growing up and like seeing it, as I've grown, is, like your attention is currency. You know what I'm saying? Being a Capricorn, like I give that cold shoulder, you know, is like, being affiliate, and do anything to try to like, hey, what I'm saying? Like, look at me, in some way, and that and again, even back in the day, realizing that like, all right, like, how we focus on things really is a currency, and even right now, like with these eclipse energies, being aware of what you consuming, you know. For me, I'm not too into the whole, like the little pop culture things come up, you know what I'm saying? Like I see the whole I mean, if you got social media or any form of, like a platform or should I say, you just got social media or deal with social media in any way, form or fashion. It's all about, the whole little Kanye energy and stuff like that, But for me, and this is me personally, like, because that's how I am too. It's like if you want that, they got some other channels and stuff that you could go watch for that type of stuff. You know, for me, I got my own growth and focus that I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Building what I'm building on. You know what I'm saying? And and sharing. Certain insights. So I don't. Unless it really just keep hitting to where it's like, hey, you need to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? But again, like I done indirectly talked about, some of this type of energy before, because again, like the whole Hollywood thing, Hollywood in essence like mimicking astronomy, or should I say like tabloids in the news that tracks, the Hollywood stars. That's basically like, a human form of astrology. You know what I'm saying? Because what, astrology, uh, the Vegas stars over here right now, or the sun is in this constellation right now, or in the same type of energy, Samuel Jackson at the Starbucks down the street right now. You know what I'm saying? Like tracking the stars. You know what I'm saying? It's all connected. But yeah, I don't get too much into that that type of stuff. Straight Panther, always, you know, always love, always great to see you in the building. Goddess essence energy, peace, peace. Kelsey vibration say you've been stoic. I'm not too familiar with stoic, but I know stoic kind of like holding a certain level of composure and not being too, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's literally, again, like that whole energy of everything, in the whole Hollywood connection, is like to mimic, esoteric energies, to mimic, that which is hidden, certain truths into, because again, it's playing off of that because they know as a soul, and not to get too into the day, what I'm saying, energy, but just, what it is, just an explanation of it, can't say it no other way, you know, uh, they're aware of the fact that on a soul level and a spiritual level, you're going to connect with following stars. So let's create a system of stars for you to follow that's not necessarily beneficial, like the stars, not the stars that would be helpful for you to be following. You know what I'm saying? And that sense of it. And of course, not labeling anything as completely good or bad. You got some people that's been on that scene that's actually becoming aware and switching up the way they're moving. Think of Terrence Howard. You got Omorion. You know what I'm saying? Different, different. Just to name a few that's coming up. But it's definitely like again like made to mimic that. Or they take certain symbolic or allegoric scripture and turn it into something, literal, as ritual as well. You know what I'm saying? Like the sacrificing your babies, you know, like part of sacrificing your babies is, you know, like are just from a perspective of, masculine aspect, you know what I'm saying? Like, letting your semen constantly just, you know, like hence why a lot of brethren talk about, like the ejaculation or holding semen retention, you know what I'm saying? But, with that whole energy, you know what I'm saying, is mimicked as the sacrifice of kids, you know what I'm saying, through certain sex rituals too, you know what I'm saying? But like that whole sacrifice perspective is like mimicking, in essence, like the masturbation process. So again, like using up the seeds without, actually, planting those seeds, and that's not it. And as I say that, it's not to judge yourself and be like, oh, well, I don't, it's like, love yourself. You know what I'm saying? Love yourself through the process. You know what I'm saying? Most definitely. You don't want to be judging yourself. And anybody, if y'all have any questions on any material that I have spoken on, you know, like whether it be crystals, any type of as above, so below, mythologies, anatomy by law, subject matters, you know what I'm saying? Or even symbols, because, the dream energy is popping off right now, you know what I'm saying? Like the dream and the astral plane is definitely popping off. And having to read those dream symbols, keeping that little dream journal, you know what I'm saying? Being aware of the messages from the subconscious. And I got to get back into reading it, but Carl Jung's The Red Book, you know, is a pretty dope little book when it comes to speaking on, you know, it's kind of like a living example of it. And matter of fact, I think of like my psychedelics playlist is kind of like Carl Jung's Red Book to some extent of like, it's like his shared experiences of the visions that he had in connecting with his inner self, you know what I'm saying? Seeing his inner self, seeing the like the monk like part of his inner self, that only want to study, and treating studying to extreme, you know what I'm saying? But it goes into that, and also just like realizing he speaks on like the God of the depths, or the God like the source energy, or not even say source energy, but more so like the again like the because we're going through cycles, and different cycles deal with, to a certain extent, you know what I'm saying, different quote unquote gods and goddess energy. You know what I'm saying? Just a shift in perspective, a shift in energy. Again, something that was once, you know, virtuous could be something that's detrimental to you. You know what I'm saying? And that book speaks a lot to that. You know what I'm saying? Because he especially spoke on the whole part of, again, like, oh, knowledge is like, presented as, oh, how many books I read, and like the intellect from that perspective. But it's like, like now it's shifting to where that's going to be more harm than, what I'm saying, than benefit. But it is definitely like just again like a this dope literary piece on the process of individuation and facing our shadows. You know, healthy six wide choice, or 60 health, heal thy 60 choice, or heal thy or healthy by choice. However you wanna, healthy by choice. So I see how you mix that in the piece. But yeah, because as I'm bringing up that, certain virtuous aspects, like, like if you got like a certain religious type of mind frame, you know, like say for instance, again, like because the Christian, you know, Christianity, and I could just speak on from me, dealing with it growing up, as a soul, I chose to come into a family that was dealing with Christianity. But like say for instance, you know, you create the sexual energy into a quote unquote, you know, like something that's bad, like that's all bad, completely bad. And what's real is you're having to go deep into the subconscious and see, have you really, like, how you operate, and if you really do be treating you know the sexual energy as if it's bad. Like when you have sex, how you feel about yourself. Do you feel like you did something wrong when you had sex? You know what I'm saying? And again, there's a balance in being aware, like, the difference between looking at sex as a wrong thing, or, or something unhealthy, and then being aware of, if you had sex with, an unhealthy partner, or a partner that wasn't necessarily healthy for you. Not to say that anything was wrong with them, but just, like whatever they was dealing with wasn't the best thing for you to connect with. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily them being bad, but there's a difference between, a partner on a sexual level that wasn't the best for you, and just sex in general not being the best for you. You know what I'm saying? But like being aware of that, because again, uh, like you should abstain from sex from a perspective of you feel it's best for you, and not saying like telling you what to do, just the awareness of, like whatever it is, it should be because you feel, aligned, like, oh, this feels healthy, this feels like the best thing for me. But it's definitely like, and that's why I may keep coming up, is if you're abstaining though because it's like, oh, sex is bad, you know, then you're gonna come across like, people, places, or things that, kind of show you sex, because again, things that we resist persist. You know what I'm saying? Try to push it away, it comes closer. You know what I'm saying? Type of energy. And if you're running after something, or you chasing something, it's gonna run away from you. You know what I'm saying? But it's like definitely like going into the subconscious, and doing the little shadow work to shift that perspective about sex. And I'm just using sex as the example. Again, this could be any types of energy, you know. But you know, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, like the flip flopping of energies at one point. Certain beings, and it's different again. Like we're becoming aware of like straight up like the different factions, the different elementals, different beings with their different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole tantric aspect. If you read the Terra papers, either if you read the Terra papers, I didn't read the Terra papers, but I used to watch and then went back to that lecture multiple times of Robert Morningsky, the Terra papers. And if you want that book, I got it in the Discord server, or if you email me, I could send it to you, PDF. But with the Terra papers, he spoke on how, I think it was in Lil, you know, and Lil being like basically like a genetics master. He was like genetically whipping up the human bodies in essence, you know, but because he wasn't, him and Anki was beefing, you know what I'm saying? And Lil kind of told the humans, like, taught them how to have sex, like taught them how to be sexual, you know and by being sexual and like tapping in on that level, they wasn't being great slaves or workers, you know what I'm saying, which was going against what you know Enki may have had in mind. And again, more so, you see, like when we talk about tantra and stuff like that tantra energy, and you know, certain deities or gods brought forth tantra, that's where that's coming from, is also that storyline, you know what I'm saying? So again, it's like being aware of our inner landscape and the external landscape, you know what I'm saying? Because it's very key, you know what I'm saying, to be aware of this, and not to again treat somebody as all bad and somebody else is all good, just for awareness, so you could align with, your true soul fam and tribe, you know what I'm saying, and work from there, again, like mythology is anatomy by law, or anatomy, you know what I'm saying. If you're a cell that work, you know, you're a liver cell, you work better in the liver, you know what I'm saying. If you a heart cell, you work better in the heart, you know what I'm saying. It ain't no beef, you know what I'm saying. I ain't, because if the liver beefing, of a cell in the liver beefing with a cell in the heart, then you know what I'm saying, and the whole thing, shut down, so to speak. So it's like that balance of maintaining, that unique individual perspective, and maintaining, the connection of what you truly resonate with, you know what I'm saying, in order to play your part, you know what I'm saying, within this being, within this dream, this quote unquote illusion, and being aware that even as a dream or illusion, you done been in one of your dreams, and something chase you, or something happen, and you wake up with your, so you know what I'm saying, as much as certain things could be an illusion, it also has a form of, you could feel it, you know what I'm saying, as a real thing, you know what I'm saying. So it's not to be played with. And you have fun, but that accountability. Accountability. As a matter of fact, any questions also on like any health tips for right now, like with meditation or anything of that nature, you know, feel free to ask. Ask the question, dim. And I'm not gonna get too into this, but just to show y'all the art of asking questions to learn more about things, and to learn how to learn, and not just depend on somebody else for some of this insight. But like when we hear the word alien, you know what I'm saying? Like, because again, it is a paradox, and you start to realize, though, again, like as I'm watching the show Pantheon, you know, and I did speak on this a little bit. I think it was in the podcast about what it was. I think self defense of the archons, or like dealing with the archon energy or whatever, and like just knowing about like different spaces, like like a certain being that's been in a certain space longer than other beings seem like a god to that, you know what I'm saying, to those other beings that's new to that space, and not necessarily be the god in essence, you know what I'm saying, or be the source energy, or a representation of the whole, source energy, but more so a part posing as the whole, you know what I'm saying, knowing that because it has seniority in this space, you know, it somewhat has the ability to, create certain, we talk about, ruler, you know, rules, creating rules with a ruler, aka what a ruler is used for measurement, you know what I'm saying. Matter of fact, do I have that but again, like the ruler measures the space and navigating the space in rulership. Let's see. Or do I need to turn this around? All right, it's showing. And again, the importance of, how etymology be breaking stuff down. Uh, Again, geometry, the branch of mathematics, the branch, a tree of mathematics, math, concerned with the properties and relations are relatable, are relations of points, lines, surfaces, solids, and higher dimensional analogs. Then you go to breaking down the word geometry, earth, metry, geometry. They talk about geography. It's like, mapping the earth, so to speak. You know, and certain little cliche statements. Desperate times call for desperate measures. You know, certain rulers try to put on that rulership. And but back to the example with Pantheon, and also let's see where I was to show this too, because this is kind of important. On the bottom, the unit of measurement, SI unit of length, 39.37 inches. Because that also goes into, again, like the science of like the pyramids being built, and then what masonry, would mimic from then on is like, like having the measurements. Because literally, like, say for instance, like each stone, say for instance, has a measurement of how many hours in a day. For example, it's not the exact accurate, but this is the blueprint of how it's, going about. But like each brick might have the measurement of how many hours in a day, and then each and then how many bricks is lined up on one side is aligned with how many days in a year. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then it just kind of, it's basically like to, again, like uh, mimic, and say mimic, but, like to be aligned with, certain universal concepts. But again, like being aware that certain, if it's not necessarily like again, like the universal laws or the hermetic principles, which even too could be just you know universal laws for this particular dimension in essence, but still, that's one of the universal laws, or should I say, like, that universal law, is, we could observe it and see that it has truth to it. Hence why, again, I, always go to the as above, so below perspective, because it's almost like a safety net, what I'm saying, of like truth, like the as above, so below perspective, you know, like shows the truth. And that's why I was gonna bring up, like, asking the question, like, what is alien to a being that is interconnected to all that is? Like, how can I be a part of a source that's all that is, and then something be alien to me? You know what I'm saying? And like that's something, sit with the spirit guides, and, what I'm saying, tap in on. But and that's why I was bringing that up. All right, because of the whole, I was bringing up Pantheon, and Pantheon is a little show showing, you know, like where they taking human consciousness and putting it into a computer, and some of the first, people who, transitioned and had their consciousness put into the computer, they became like, quote unquote, gods to that, to that realm, into that part of the simulation, you know, because they were, the first programs implemented. They were the first ones to be put into that space. You know what I'm saying? Space program. Being put into that. You know what I'm saying? That software. And so they became the ones who, you know what I'm saying, in essence. So if anything, you know, any new beings got uploaded to that software, you know, and I think about Sword Art Online, the anime that's kind of somewhat, you know, has that vibe to it. Uh, that's another one that come to me. But again, though, whatever held space beforehand, has like that quote unquote dominion over the space. And so again, like something that's alien in essence may not necessarily be alien as much as it's just like, just an unfamiliar, energy. Cause it like there's a vice versa perspective of like Earth, quote unquote, this simulation or illusion can be like an alien to some beings. Like some beings like feel like, oh, I don't feel at home in this place. Like, you know, uh this is not the end all be all. And then on the flip side, and some beings could be likened a quote unquote alien to, Earth in the illusion, which is, again, the same thing. But, you know, you kind of see, again, like having to look into it on a deeper level and not just like, oh, well, this book or this said this is aliens, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, it's about moving through certain spaces, and again, like bringing up the whole geometry thing and the ruler and rulership, and measurements. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dan Winter, matter of fact, because I'm aware, aware of the word. You know what I'm saying? Much love to Dan Winters for showing, the, like the connection with the dodecahedron, and again, like the science of our torus field, because that's a part of it too, and that's basically, in essence, the story that's being told is, like the beginning of a torus field being made, because a world is created, a world, like, what I'm saying, because a torus field is like a tornado at the top and the bottom, or like a whirlpool, what I'm saying, or a world being created. What I'm saying? That's also where the whole aspect of Hebrew letters come in at, and say, for instance, you know, I'm not able to, uh, but like, you got the 27 Hebrew letters, it's talking about like, I did the video. If you want to reference some of the mathematical stuff I showed, it's in the video. I think it's a live now video called like Pisces and the 9 to 5. But breaking down like also the perspective of like, 1, 2, 3 is kind of like the first thing, and then from 1, 2, 3, it was just like a reflection of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 being created, and stopping at 9. You know what I'm saying? In essence, even like the 27, you know, Hebrew letters, and again 27 connected to iron, the atomic number of iron, and Mars energy, you know, and Mars kind of got that fiery passion, and Hebrew letters is considered to be, you know, shadows of fire, you know what I'm saying, and also the shape of it's like a certain pathway through a toroidal field that creates it. The Dragon Connections video I put together on Patreon, which was kind of just basically referencing, this rabbi and Dan Winter's work, you know what I'm saying, of kind of just showing like that whole how that all connects with, the science of the toroidal field, Hebrew letters, you know what I'm saying, and again, like the word and creation, and then the dragon energy, again, dragon spitting the fire, and then also in the Gnostic scriptures, speaking on this world is kind of like a, like a shadow of something else, and and no coincidence that the word was, the word is what created the world, and the word in essence is, some of the words in essence come from like a shadow, you know. But I see that science of 3, 6, and 9 in there too. But again, like, and that's the way, again, like, of breaking down the insight, breaking down the information. You said Straight Panther, any DSY of the dead tips. And excuse my lack of awareness, but unless you meant to type, because thinking of, knowing the typewriter, because you probably meant day, any day of the dead tips. You know, for one, I had to realize, connecting with ancestors, that are, like, having to put that out there, like, I'm only connecting with ancestors that are 100% truthful and bring forth 100% clarity, you know, because again, just like with any family, if I go deal with Uncle Booby, Uncle Booby still got a grudge against me because my daddy let me get the car that he wanted. You know what I'm saying? So Uncle Booby might still be holding a grudge against me. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Booby not trying to help me. You know what I'm saying? With my crystal jewelry and sharing insight on my YouTube channel. So you know, I may not want to be channeling Uncle Booby energy or trying to connect with Uncle Booby when I'm trying to do things that's beneficial. You know what I'm saying? So again, long story short, being aware of like how we connect with our ancestry, and again, uh, Uncle Booby ain't all bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just like having that awareness though to tap in and call upon that energy. You know what I'm saying? What else? And just in whatever way we align with venerating our ancestors, definitely venerating your ancestors, where you do it astrally and internally. You might venerate your ancestors by actually creating an altar within, because for me, I don't know, I got to a point where so much of the altar work just felt too external. you know it just felt too external for me, you know what I'm saying? And there's a balance. It ain't like we just supposed to be like, because I wouldn't be doing a video, I wouldn't be interacting and relating to people if it wasn't about the balance of both inner and outer. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause just like a tourist fair goes in and then out, in and out, you know. But definitely, what I'm saying, like, whatever way you venerate, though, that doesn't, again, that doesn't take away from the external altars. You know what I'm saying? If that's your thing and that's what you connect with. Because when I think about that, like when I connect with certain animals in nature, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know, like I might be feeding the squirrels or certain birds come close to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I send that thanks and appreciation, you know what I'm saying? Or even ask, like, again, question asking, like, hey, divine ancestors, ancestors who constantly, bringing forth truth with clarity, is constantly protecting me, constantly just always helping me out. Hey, y'all, what y'all like? How can I venerate you? You know what I'm saying? Because again, that's more and more of what the awareness is like, like using the tools, because again, teaching is gonna kind of go more tightly into like methodology. Like, if you not speaking on methodology, you know what I'm saying, then it's not necessarily, you know, something that somebody should just automatically do, you know, because there's a certain method, you know what I'm saying, to doing things, but then there's somebody own perspective or way of doing things, which may not be the best for you, you know what I'm saying? But, again, like asking that question and tapping in on that level, but just making sure that, that you're aware of how you're tapping in, venerating. What else? Because for me, like, like being around the trees, you know what I'm saying? Like that's my thing, you know what I'm saying? And awareness with everything, is in balance, or not say in balance, it sounds like I'm saying imbalance, but everything is about, how you balance things out for yourself. Because again, if I'm a vegan, you know, I gotta be aware that if I keep only eating vegetables, and ain't nothing wrong with it, but having to realize and be aware that I'm gonna be constantly channeling a vegetable type of energy. You know what I'm saying? And being aware of that, hence why you do get to a certain point of at least allowing yourself to fast, a certain amount of time to kind of see how you feel without bringing anything into your temple on that level. You know what I'm saying? That kind of lets you get like a raw perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because again, uh, because even with dealing with the trees a lot, I could become, and that's a part of it, you know what I'm saying? Like again, inner world reflects outwardly. Some things in the external world is a reflection of your ancestry and what you align with. So it's not necessarily like a toxic possession, you know what I'm saying, in that sense of it. It's not like a mindless, like, I'm just doing the bidding of the trees, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that. Not to that extent, but again, like being aware of that though, you know what I'm saying? On any and all levels. But again, it's to see how the things are connected, on that level. It's not trying to create more delusional perspectives. XFSP, most definitely. I be binaural beat. Like, matter of fact, the last few days, last few weeks, been on the binaural beats pretty strongly. And I tend to kind of gravitate towards the solfeggio tones, because all the solfeggio tones kind of add up to, like you think of 528 hertz, you know what I'm saying? Like, or just the different hertz. I can't think of them all right now, but they all add up to either 9, 3, or 6, you know, and that's very important for me. So I don't kind of just jump on anything that says binaural beats. I kind of look for things, that that aligns with the solfeggio tones. Solfeggio, SOLFEGGIO. Because again, that's another thing, a part of, with the whole is talking about the Day of the Dead and that whole energy, you know what I'm saying? Because even that vibe too, I don't even, of course we use the word death and dead, you know what I'm saying? But, we never really die. So I don't even know why like why I even use that terminology, you know. I'm starting to realize that even, you know what I'm saying, as we even speaking on it right now. It's like if we know we transition and we never, it's constantly transition, why we even call it like, death or dead, like as if, oh, that's the end point. You know what I'm saying? But and what I was about to say, forgot that fast. But come back up. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. And like helping, certain ancestors and certain ancestors and beings that you connected with. But again, more so like from an ancestral level. You know what I'm saying? Certain ancestors that are looking for your help. And doing certain, again, like certain astral travels or shamanic journeying. Because again, your ancestors is also you. You know, you are in essence an accumulation of your ancestors. You know, say that psyllium husk cleaning out. No psyllium husk clean out the system. But yeah, that's definitely been again that energy dealing with your spirits, spirit guides. Because again, like dealing with spirits and in a manner like you would deal with people. If you feel like like I think of, I forgot the name of the author, but he do a lot of book. I think Ted Andrews. He do a lot of good books on like connecting with animal spirits. And in one of his books, he just spoke on like like to see if you feel like there's some type of ambiguous energy or something, or like some type of trickster from a confusing type of manner. Because again, we all got some trickster in us. You know what I'm saying? Uh, in some way, form, or fashion. This is how you tap in and how you channel that energy. But it's like, if you feel like you're dealing with some form of ambiguous energy, then, like speak on the disconnect. Like, hey, stop connecting with, if you know the spirit name or that energy's name, or just in general, like, hey, I'm no longer working with your energy, and see how that, what happens afterwards, in the sense of, does that energy just fall back with the coolness, or does that energy get aggravated? You know what I'm saying? Because that's another way to know you're dealing with something that's trying to, control or persuade you in a unhealthy manner. Is like if you disconnect from something and then it gets like irate, you know, then it's like, all right, that's most likely why I disconnected. You know what I'm saying? We say disconnected, but you know what I'm saying? Like, uh, not working with that energy, you know. Because again, in some way, form, or fashion, we channeling, you know, uh, channeling spirits, channeling ancestors, but just making sure, you're aware of tapping in with, those that are in support of your now moment in this realm, in support of what you're doing in this incarnation, you know. A Johnny Rich Rising, coming in on the 9-9 mark, 918. What's up? Any other questions? Come on, shoot. See, I gotta. That's something. Being aware of those words I'm using. Again, questions connecting with any subject matter that I constantly talk about on this channel, whether it be crystals or mythology, anatomy by law. Just intuitively, with the whole FDA thing, what I'm saying, it's just like the same antics of, because again, like a lot of that stuff be, stumping, like stumping the foot and seeing how we gonna respond or react, because that's another thing, more and more we're gonna see that, our internal realm is really reflective externally, you know what I'm saying? Like just like how you got certain energies that constantly try to, like stump at you, like internally, like don't go, don't go to that sound bad. You should just go drink a beer. You know what I'm saying right now instead of going to that sound healing. You know what I'm saying? Like like just how we have those, those inner voices and inner energies. When I say inner, just more so like from our perspective and our own consciousness, but really not the true essence of our being. Hence why we know, like, all right, that voice ain't coming from, you know, my intuition. You know what I'm saying? That's more so coming, like, because again, we create entities with certain, toxic habits and things of this nature. You know what I'm saying? Again, in the power of now. Eckhart Tolle calls it, the pain body, and more you're gonna start to realize this. Again, we all speaking on the truth. It's multi dimensions to the same truth. Some of us just speak on it from different perspectives, or from different awareness levels and different teachings, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? But you know, and so if that creates entities, you know what I'm saying, internally, externally, you got entities that's gonna be, coming at that level. Like, and I'm again not. I don't try to act like I know everything. You know what I'm saying, and try to, like, oh well, the politics of this, is all I can say though with the whole FDA thing. You know what I'm saying? The same old thing. Just like how Dr. Sebi had to, prove in the Supreme Court that, hey, this is what it is, and hence why, even seeing, like, uh, like having to be prepared. If we're staying, quote unquote, in quote unquote America, because hence why you see, or just in general, certain beings might be moving out of the United States. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that a lot of bullshit, is trying to manifest. But again, of course they're gonna try to regulate or do this or that. You know what I'm saying? But again, as we talk about symbology, what I'm saying, the sword, in the sword fights and movies, I challenge you to a duel, in duality. But also, again, like, as I say that, there's no duel if I'm not fighting anything. You know what I'm saying? It's only a duel. It becomes a duel if I go to, you know, if I agree to the contract of fighting with something. And that's another thing too is coming up, agreeing to the contract. Uh Shout out to the anime called Dark Summoner, you know what I'm saying, where he's a summoner being and, dealing with the contract, stuff like that. But long story short, it's like just being the change you want to see or focusing on. Like when you focus on having so much truth and proof of, like, hey, I could tap in with these herbs, you know here is the literature that proves that even your doctors are trying to mimic what, these herbs do. Hence why, again, like the pharmaceuticals are like started from the perspective of being like, dealing with things from a farm perspective, or things that's grown, or plants and herbs, you know what I'm saying. Hence, with some pharmacy symbols being the martyr and the pestle, however you say that, the thing where you grind up the herbs and stuff like that, but it's like, knowing the truth and standing in it, you know what I'm saying, because that applies to, the whole situation with, Dr. Sebi, or just anybody else who right now tapping in with the herbs and not necessarily having any problems with the FDA. But of course, again, they may keep trying to push the envelope, but again, it's like I'm just focusing on presenting my healing truth, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, because again, the battle, it becomes a battle when you participate, from a battling perspective, you know, kind of like the analogy of, the rioters creates the police who fighting against the rioters, you know what I'm saying? Like yin and yang, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be on that side, because again, like that's what's going on right now, you know what I'm saying, is the antagonist is like just whatever's trying to keep us in this form of this duality perspective, you know what I'm saying, to an extreme. Like being aware of the paradox and that there is some form of duality in this realm. But again, like, hey, I have no enemies, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm dealing with my inner realm, like what I deal with externally is a reflection of my subconscious mind and how I deal with myself. Because one may say, oh, well, I ain't attract that manipulative being. Like, in essence, you do, in the sense of like, just like with your own inner work. Again, like, when you're doing well on your path, you know what I'm saying, you doing things healthily, and then something may come. Because even this, you know what I'm saying, like the energy of trying to get you into extremes, because that creates duality. But like, like, say for instance, the energy that comes in to try to get you to be extremely nice, like, hey, you should be extremely nice, you know what I'm saying, that's bad. To be, you know, to honor all your emotions, like anger and all that is bad. You need to come on the extreme of just your good emotions. You know what I'm saying? Although that's dressed up as something nice, that's again a energy. So again, just like that type of energy, what I'm saying, could come up within your subconscious, from your, perspective, from your bodysuit. It shows up externally as, people, places, and things looking to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Just like with the whole black and white thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get into that. That's not me. And, I don't allow for, I don't care, if a melanated person feel like, oh, well, brother, you ain't down for the, all right. Because you start to see, like, why are you getting so mad? That's the evidence right there. Like, why are you getting so mad? Why are you trying to tell me how to operate? Like, oh, brother, you need to be more, you know, you need to be aware of your ancestor energy to the. I'm aware of my ancestors. Look, you do you, I do me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and more you're gonna start to realize that, and again, hence why a lot of us who took psychedelics early in the game, kind of just automatically kind of, of course, it, it's a strong energy in this realm, you know what I'm saying? So, I done see myself kind of like, kind of slip up and having to you know, uh, realign with that energy, you know what I'm saying, of understanding not to fall into that, that foolishness. Because again, by default, I'm a quote unquote be helpful to melanated people, you know, like my body, again, like taking this bodysuit, for the most part, you know, some people align with receiving information from a bodysuit that looks just like theirs, you know what I'm saying? Or, or being from, again, like my soul choosing to come into Opelousas, Louisiana, you know what I'm saying? There's gonna be beings from that area that's awakening that's gonna resonate with my message, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater because we got allies in this realm that don't look exactly like us. You know what I'm saying? And just the strategy of, you know what I'm saying, is deeper than, that perspective. Hence why, in the show The Man Who Fell to Earth, you know, the you had I wanted to say Chadwick Boseman because he somewhat remind me of him, but the main character, I forgot his name, but the black brethren, you know, for lack of a better word, the same being, basically the teacher or the adept being that came from his realm came into this realm as in a white bodysuit. You know why? Because he came into this realm like for the mission that was necessary. He wasn't gonna change, like come down into this realm when racism was popping. You ain't gonna become no CEO or no company without problems. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't have the bodysuit that allowed for you to do that type of work, you know what I'm saying? Hence, again, like the Nikola Teslas or others who may not have like a and again, like a external high level of melanin, you know what I'm saying? Because again, you got neuromelanin and melanin, the nigrous substantia, it varies in different beings, Again, anybody who's brunette, like quote unquote, white people who were brunettes, you know what I'm saying, got some type of connection to melanin, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different levels. Shout out to I don't know who was sampled at the beginning of that song, but the MF Doom song, it's called Winter Blues. If you want to check it out, Winter Blues. But like melanin on melanin, you know what I'm saying? You to recharge off your velvet skin, make it feel like 12 again. As soon as you hit the green light, I'm delving in. Shout out to that, you know what I'm saying? But much love to that. But you know what I'm saying? But at the beginning, it was, man, it could have been Francis Chris Wilson, or maybe Dr. Jewel Pookrum that he sampled at the beginning of that. But it's like no matter if you come from Denmark or Poland or whatever, you know what I'm saying, you got your melanin that's tapping into it, But again, like realizing, you got allies that may not have the same bodysuit as you, and again, like anybody that's trying to like, oh well, you should. That's a automatically like, all right, I don't need to be vibing with you, on that level. You know what I'm saying? Because I done got to awareness where I know that it's not meant for anybody to try to convince me of anything. You know, again, if what you say is so powerful and so strong, you shouldn't have to convince me of it. It should convince me just on its own power. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, oh, you should beware my such and such does this or that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, if you got to do all that, then is it really that, you know what I'm saying, that powerful? Why you got to do so much talking to try to convince me orally, or with words, casting these spells to get me to believe, or go along with your perspective. And again, like, because that's how I know from my internal perspective. like I peep out because again, it's like like right now, and just beforehand, that self awareness of like being aware of like anytime I'm trying to get somebody to to see my perspective like in life, like growing up, because that never was me. Like I always realized, like bro, let a person be. Like why try to convince a person, if they meant to align with something, they gonna align with it. Cause I was one that always felt uncomfortable and didn't like when somebody was trying to convince me to change my mind for the better or the worse. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of, again, like church people coming to like, oh, well, you should like, man, get away with that old, you know, trying to get me to see your way type of energy. You know what I'm saying? If it's that powerful, I'll be in church next Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, if the being that is that powerful, like you say it is, or whatever is that powerful, like you're trying to convince me of, you know, tomorrow I'll probably be right with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, have you ever heard of the Jehovah? Are you prepared for the Jehovah's return? Because if you ain't, we got some brochures for you. Man, some Friday vibes. Matter of fact, today Friday. But it's like again, like being aware, because I never, again, like you ain't gotta try to convince. I ain't gonna try to convince somebody to work with crystals. Like that should be their own. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't, it ain't about trying to convince nobody or none of that. You know? You- Wait, abundance equal energy exchange. Do you feel the energy shift speed up? Not really understand question. Need to see. Man, it's not necessarily again like the video. It's not as much as people forgetting as much as it's like just having to really do the work to let go of the subconscious programming that causes certain habits and certain behaviors that cause lesson loops, which causes memory loss. You know what I'm saying? And again, you could look at that from all layers of like the Jupiter ascending situation. Uh, Jupiter ascending. What else it was on? Where Men in Black, Jupiter ascending, and something else. Oh, and the now it's a show, but in the comic book Paper Girls, you know what I'm saying? Again, like certain beings trying to zap your memory of so you could forget about certain important things to move forward. Maintaining a certain insight about things. You know, but again, just on this, but on a simple level, the perspective of like memory. It's like having to in essence, again, like it's not necessarily as much as people just forgetting as much as it's like having to let go of the certain things that's causing us to fall into cycles, that's causing us to, because again, if you're on a merry-go-round, you know what I'm saying, you've been on a merry-go-round, you get dizzy, you get kind of dizzy, you might kind of get a little fuzzy in your memory, you know what I'm saying, which is a balance with memory anyway, you know what I'm saying, you know, I find being fully present is it has been the highest liberator for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I even think to the fact that I've been able to be so present in my moment because I wasn't dwelling on like being so present, even to the fact of like I might have ate something. Let's just say something that I considered, or that just knowing for my diet, like, hey, this ain't the healthiest thing for you to eat all the time. You know what I'm saying? At certain points, at one point, it was like, judging myself, and then get to a space of just like, not judging myself to the point where, it's something considered unhealthy, ate it, and literally forgot that I ate, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not trying to hold on to that, man. If it's not relevant to my now moment, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to keep bringing it up, you know what I'm saying? And again, that's, as I say that, you know what I'm saying? That's a constant, constant work. It's not like, oh, all right, I reached the supreme place of being present all the time. So I never have to meditate and do any, healthy practices anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, it's always going to be, some form of just consistently staying disciplined to, maintain that awareness. It's not like no thing of where you reach the, let me use a big word, the precipice, like, oh, I reached this point where now I never have to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's always going to be, some form of gardening, you know what I'm saying? Gardening, planting the seeds, and picking out the fruit. Yeah, being present, is like one of the main keys. Word to that horn in the background. you know, XCFSP. You don't have to be sorry for anything. You're not sorry. Be aware of the word magic that you're using. It's all a part of it. Because, yes, it could get to a place where, just saying affirmations may not just, it's like, because again, it's a balance with that whole awareness too. Like you hear people, say, and even I became aware of that. Like, like, all right, just saying affirmations is not gonna, shift this energy. It's more that needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more things that need to be applied, but affirmations and your words still are effective. You know what I'm saying? It's still a thing. Yeah, that present moment. And again, like I said about the different dimensions of explanations, you know what I'm saying? Like in the book, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle don't talk about, you know, ancient dragon bloodlines and, and Taurus fields and Hebrew letters and all that, you know what I'm saying? But what he's speaking on in the message of the book, it's a layer of truth, regardless if it's not adding all those little details to it. You know what I'm saying? Which those details, are important as well. You know what I'm saying? Because again, some may ask why, follow or read about mythology or certain things, and even that came up to me too. As a way to balance yourself out. Like, so, kind of a side note, like an information commercial. But if you're a being that's more connected to the water and earth energy, which means you're gonna kind of somewhat be connected to the past and traditions and things of this nature, you know, uh, and if you're, and more so from the perspective of, like being in your soul purpose, and if you do kind of gravitate more so to the water and earth energy, to, you know whatever it is that you love, well, say for instance you love to like tap into that energy, like tapping into the past or knowing her story or his story, you know then you could align your soul purpose with that energy, like say for instance being a historian or historian, like where you uh whether it's teaching or or sharing insight from some way, form, or fashion, like of the past. That way, you know, you're getting the best of both worlds where you're being present. It's not like you're going into the past per se. You're tapping into the past and being present with it in a manner where it could be applied in a helpful manner in this now moment. And because you enjoy doing it, you're being present as you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Or like again, if you're a person that may like to kind of be aware of the future a little bit, aka, like fire and air energy, you know what I'm saying? Then, astrology, you know what I'm saying, or some form of divination that kind of, taps into the future, that way, because again, instead of like sitting back and just kind of just only like drifting too far into the past and drifting too far into the future, you know what I'm saying? It's like, how about if you do see a tendency to lean towards one more than the other, you know what I'm saying, to allow for, you to do what you love in connection with that. That way you could be fully present, and again, like you tapping into the future is actually relevant to your now moment. Why? Because you do divinations, you know what I'm saying? And part of you being present in your now is doing divinations for people about the future, or, and again, and the balance of both in some cases. Because again, I mean, it is the, now the vibrate, but again, like understanding your unique wiring in the sense of, just your, I would say wiring per se, but just, your unique expression and connection, with certain elements and certain energies, you know what I'm saying? And structuring things around that, creating that foundation around that energy. Because again, though, it's the balance of both in the sense of, like knowing, all right, what popped off in the past that helps me to be informed about my now. Because I know if I keep repeating those cycles in the past, and I need to do A, B, and C right now, you know, to create this type of future, you know what I'm saying? And kind of peep into the future and see, like, oh, all right, look like paper money is not going to be used no more. So, all right, bring myself to the present moment. What can I do right now to align with these changes that I see are coming into the, from the quote unquote future? You know, again, a now moment is the time machine for sure. It depends on the work. Max 23, talking about what crystal is best for the sacral. First thing for me and my experience and my insight, carnelian and smoky quartz. Matter of fact, speaking of that, my little carnelian, smoky quartz is in the what that is, the graphic feldspar, the carnelians. But it depends on the energy work that you're doing. Because again, because I go into the specifics because it is that specific in essence, you know what I'm saying? Like the crystal structure of the certain crystal, like the color, the structure of it, how it was formed, you know what I'm saying? Because again, it depends on what type of sacred work are you doing. If you're doing sacred work that where you need to dive deep into some, of a connection dealing with your sacred energy, then you would want a crystal. You look up the crystals. I forgot the crystal book by Michael Geiger or Ginger. It'll come to me. But anyway, but like books that that are just you do your research, but books that kind of like also let you know like how the crystal was formed, its chemical formula, its crystal structure, like like that, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because if it's a crystal that was born out of metamorphosis, meaning that like it it rose up and then went back into the magma and then reformed, or like a crystal that's a plutonic crystal, or if I'm saying that right, but it's big, and they use the word Pluto because it's the crystals that come like from deep in the earth. So literally, that crystal is going to deal with more deeper, energies that you're working with, you know what I'm saying, compared to a crystal that forms close to the surface. So it may deal with a little more surface level things, you know what I'm saying? So all of that goes into it as well, and again, and depending on what type of work you're doing and again, your energy. But from my experience, I definitely would say, I also see a lot of people gravitate towards orange calcite, and again, calcite deals with calcium. Kind of, it deals with somewhat of the septarian energy in our ancestral, you know, and more so our physical ancestry to some extent. I mean, again, because the physical ancestry can reflect to our cosmic ancestry, but for the most part, what I'm saying, like calcite, deals with calcium, so it deals with the bones and it deals with structure. So in essence, like if I'm wanting to kind of like structure something, in essence, what I'm saying, I would deal with a calcite, what I'm saying, because I'm trying to build structure around what I'm working on, with this crystal, what I'm using this crystal, or should I say what I'm working with this crystal, to amplify or connect with, what I'm saying. But and people often want to know the purpose of crystal dealing with humans. What do you think? You know, again, we walk in crystals first and foremost, and I think of that more so too because of you know crystals have different elements that's inside of them. Let me see before this computer shut down. Uh, Crystals have different elements inside of them. You know what I'm saying, and different elements like we have inside of us, because I remember somebody asking me, like, oh, you don't feel like that's too many crystals? I'm like, well, if I wasn't wearing these crystals, my body got all kind of elements in it, you know what I'm saying? And the body has contradicting elements in it, you know what I'm saying? In the sense of like, you got manganese and you got iron in your body. And manganese could prevent the absorption of iron, and iron could prevent the absorption of manganese. You know what I'm saying? And that's literally like also like a, you say like a somewhat clash of like the Venus Mars energy in the sense of manganese promotes. Because I did a video about manganese in the diet, in the sense of like manganese promotes empathy. You know what I'm saying? And iron promotes kind of like a buckle down, boundary, strong energy. You know what I'm saying? But those elements kind of has like a like if we was turning into Osmosis Jones movie, and and again personified these elements, it would look like they would have like like they would have to find some type of harmony, between themselves in order to smoothly do what they're supposed to do in the body. But again, like you got all these different elements, inside of you, and some may kind of, in essence, be, working against the other in so many words. You know what I'm saying? Again, like you got sodium, which dries up, the water in the body. You know what I'm saying? And sodium helps to balance. I did a video about solar light and Aquarius energy, but soda light, you know what I'm saying, name because it's connected to sodium, you know what I'm saying. And matter of fact, is another crystal I've been working with that had, I don't know if it's pneumite. Pneumite is magnesium. I can't. Oh, I think it's that alfredsonite and eugilite, if I'm not mistaken. That alfredsonite or arfedsonite, but matter of fact, but that crystal having a lot of sodium in it. But again, like the sodium, dries up the water. So too much sodium would dry up the water. But again, though, if you are usually like having trouble with balancing out your emotions, and uh, more so emotions are, too like intuition or energies is like just picking up on everything a little bit too, overwhelmingly. You could work with crystals that have sodium in it, You know what I'm saying? But in essence, that's how crystals relate to the body. Also, in the perspective of, you know, ancestors or beings that made, that had a bodysuit in this realm and transition, that energy goes into the ground, you know what I'm saying? And could rise back up in the form of crystals. So literally working with a certain crystal may be tapping into, the bodysuit of a certain buried ancestor, you know what I'm saying, in some way, form, or fashion. You know, and hence being aware of, like what regions the crystals are mined from and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I do my best not to. It's a balance, you know what I'm saying, but not to be all like markety, commercially about having certain crystals as I'm speaking of it. But you know what I'm saying, the yellow fluorite that I have from like from Morocco, or the Al Hammam mine in Morocco. So that energy is going to have, be tapped into whatever, connections with that ley line and with ancestors, may have transitioned in that area, so to speak, you know. So you tapping in with that energy as well. But, so that's another way it connects with the human perspective, like with our bodysuit, you know. And again, crystals are just helpers, you know what I'm saying? They literally like they vibrate on a frequency that just always help you to remember, that it's a certain structure and discipline, to things. And again, depending on, the crystal structure itself, because you got hence why, obsidians are quote unquote meteorites, you know what I'm saying? Like say for instance, like a Libyan desert glass or moldavite, like and again obsidian, you know, they create like they shake up things, like if you're dealing with the energy where you just be trying to control things too much and it's something that you need to take a risk on and something that you just not being able to see or do because you're being too controlling or anal about how you operate, you know what I'm saying? Like you micromanaging the fuck out of everything you doing. Then, obsidian would be, a remedy because it's gonna shake things up because it's amorphous, meaning it has no like symmetry in its crystal structure, you know what I'm saying? But that lack of symmetry in its crystal structure would be medicinal for somebody where, you know, the the way they, like the way they deal with structure is like micromanaging and to the point of their detriment. You know what I'm saying? And again, like with dealing with crystals, it all depends on, again, your energy, what you're working on, helping yourself with, quote unquote, quote unquote healing, but say helping yourself with, and and where you at, what I'm saying? Like again, like some people, you see these people walking behind me, what I'm saying? Like, if you constantly, you in the city, what I'm saying, you go to certain stores, like unless you got like a not even say a maid or a butler like it's something bad, what I'm saying? But unless you got somebody like going and do everything for you and you just stay in the house all the time, what I'm saying? You're gonna be interacting with different energy fields and stuff like that, And matter of fact, like most, like any grounding crystals or any black crystals would be good, for when you're kind of going out and about, especially like if the type of person to each his own, you might be the type of person that step out, you know, and catch a drink with the soul fam. You might go sip a little wine with the soul fam tonight, you know what I'm saying? And it's in a place where they got other people, you know what I'm saying? So to make sure that, and also working with fluorite, but you know what I'm saying? To make sure that you kind of keep your energy in its space and not allowing for any external spirits to be trying to jump ship on that level, you know what I'm saying? You work with, those types of stones in that situation, you know. So, there's levels to it, And that makes the difference between, just the common knowledge on that level, and and like, oh well, citrine works like this for this, but then knowing like all the different situations, again on a deeper level. And my computer battery is about to run out, so soon I'm about to close this up. XEFSP, agate would be good near your chest. If for one, if you feel it's good near your chest, because I can't, tell you everything. You also working with crystals, fill it out yourself. Or use a pendulum. Hey, pendulum, is it best for me to wear this agate on my chest? You know what I'm saying? Pendulum might say no. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, all right, because that's how pendulums come in handy. On that level. But just generally speaking, I know Botswana agate, what I'm saying, or even like, because basically carnelian somewhat like an agate as well, what I'm saying, but like that carnelian that's kind of like so light orange that it's almost pink, that's a good one. But also Botswana agate, great to have over the heart, but it's again dealing on what you working on, what I'm saying. Do you, you know, because again, yes, it's best to wear crystals over certain chakras, but just by wearing the crystals, again, setting the intention, like, although I'm wearing it around my neck, hey, I want you to help work with the root chakra energy, you know what I'm saying? Just like, me wearing these on my wrist. Yeah, it's on my wrist, but these certain crystals are helping me in certain areas that's not around my wrist, you know. And sometimes I even see, like, visualize the energy kind of like going in my body and into the certain area, what I'm saying? If I'm channeling chi energy, I visualize the carnelian, what I'm saying, amplifying the movement of chi, within the body. And again, like with agates real good for patience, what I'm saying? So if you have to be patient with the matters of the heart, what I'm saying? You need more patience. You need to slow down and pump your brakes in a matter of love or something of that nature, what I'm saying? And just as examples, other things could be involved, but uh, then yeah, that would be one of the best connections. Yep. Kyanite, real good for the communication. Lapis lazuli, septarian, you know, rarely, what I'm saying, in the sense of septarian